Similar way, these are the so many other properties and value you have for the pseudo class selector. You can use anything here like this: a colon link, a colon visited, focus, hover, active, checked, first child, first letter, first line, like this. You can these all are the pseudo class, and these two, first letter and first line, are the pseudo element. You can use as per your requirement. You have a text box, you want to focus that box, right? Then you can use the focus, right? Like this way you can define the pseudo class selector. Similar way, you have the pseudo element selector. Then pseudo element selector is used to style a specific part of element. For example, when you use the first, you have a text, right? And in that you want a style for first letter or a line or of the element. When you want to insert the comment before and after or entire content of the element, then you are going to use pseudo element selector. How it will be there? The same way. Syntax, you have to define selector, 2 colon, that is, in C++ generally it's called scope resolution, then 2 colon symbol, pseudo hyphen element, then you define the properties and values. This is the syntax you have to follow for pseudo element. The example is that you have to use like this way. If you want after, then double colon after, like example is there, you have a paragraph and double colon after. That means you are going to insert a comment after the page element, paragraph element. Same way, if you want the comment to be before paragraph, then you have to use p colon paragraph. If you want the first letter of the paragraph to be a style, some style to be given, then you can use p double colon first letter, first line, and selection. So this way you can use the pseudo element selector. Next, contextual selector. This contextual selector select element based on the ancestor, descendant, or sibling. The contextual selector, it is in CSS 3, also it is called as combinators. Okay, in CSS 3 what we are using nowadays, in that it is called as combinator. That will allow you to select the element based on the ancestor, descendant, or sibling. That is it select element based on their context. Whatever the context you are defining, on that basis it will select the element. Okay, and then it will relate to into the document tree. Example, what you have to use, like we are using the descendant. I want, you can see here div p, I am using as a division and paragraph. So inside the division, whatever the paragraph will be there, on that particular element, that CSS will apply. The same way it will be like that when you want to use as a child element, then you have to use div and greater than symbol h2. When you want with the adjacent symbol, that means with h3 also paragraph, that means select the first paragraph after any h3. So after h3 any paragraph is there, you want the CSS to be applied, then you are going to use h3 plus 1. The general sibling, if you want to select all paragraph element which is used in your HTML document, and you want after the h3 the certain CSS to be applied for the paragraph, then you are going to h3 tilde symbol and paragraph. Like this way you can use the contextual selector. Next, as we have seen the descendant selector. In descendant selector, while some of the contextual selector are used to relative infrequently, almost all web author find themselves using descendant selector. What is that descendant selector? It will match all the element that are contained with another element. So it will see that what are the element is there, and it with that element what are contained, then you are going to use as a descendant selector. And the character used to indicate descendant selection is a space character. Simply you have to use the space character symbol. Syntax, what is the syntax for this? The syntax is that you can see here, I have used here as example Descendant. I have a division, this is the context. Okay, then you are going to select the element. Which element you want to select? Paragraph. Then you are going to define the CSS. You can see here. So select the paragraph element somewhere with the division tag. Wherever inside the division tag you have a paragraph, and whatever the CSS you will apply, that CSS will apply on this paragraph which is inside the division, this context. You can see here hash main I have used div p colon first child. So what it mean that, so whichever we have used the main, right, the ID wherever we are going to use as a ID as a main, and then inside completely there will be a division, there will be the paragraph. So in that wherever the ID we will be using as a main, in that definitely this first child it will CSS will apply. So these are called as Descendant selector. The contextual selector in action, how you have to do that, you can see here in the document what I have used. I have used here hyperlink, right, href for linking. I have used as a ul, you can see here ul a colon link, then color below. Then that means this is the Descendant selector. Wherever ul will be there, and in ul, that is unordered list, right? So wherever you have unordered list and in ordered list you have a anchor tag, then that means that link color will be in blue. Similar way you have defined here time, and if you are defining the CSS like hash main time color red, then wherever you have used ID as a main, whichever the context like division I have used here, I have used here as a paragraph. So wherever it will be the ID as a main, that means it will, this CSS is going to apply. Like this way the contextual selector works in HTML.